In this video, we're going to get started on some of the exercises in our trumpet first big warm-up for jazz. We're going to play the first two lines and then show you how you can use these lines and the rest of the page to work on some common jazz rhythms. Also, just below this video, you'll find links to some background tracks for lines 1 and 2 on the first big warm-up, rather than just the metronome we're using here. On each of the audio-only versions, there will be a version with a trumpet playing along and one just with the background track, so you can hear yourself play and also work on some of those jazz rhythms we were just talking about. Let's take a look at line number 1. This line contains the first 5 notes that we learned in the previous video. I didn't put the fingerings underneath the notes here, hoping that you would remember them from the previous video. However, if you look on other parts of the first big warm-up, you will probably find any fingerings that you need. So let's play the line together. 1, 2, 3. Great. Remember, there are audio versions only of these lines and some cool jazz background tracks to play with right below this video. Now let's take a look at line number 2. This is just a Remington exercise that many band programs use as their standard warm-up. I put the fingerings below most of the notes to help you get started. The whole point of this line is to use deep breaths and to try to play each 3-note group in one breath. I call it musical weightlifting. We're building strength in your playing through long tones. By the way, at the very bottom of this page, the very bottom, Bill Chase, the guy who's on that YouTube video, was legendary for practicing long tones for hours and hours and hours, and that's how he got as good as he was. Okay, let's take a look at line number 2. We're just going to play the first 2 groups of notes together, and then I'll explain how we're going to take this and do some other cool things with it. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Deep breath. Good. Now, let's take a look at the very bottom of the first big warm-up. There are some basic jazz rhythms that we can substitute in for some of the long tone exercises. Here's an example. Take a look at the first rhythm. I'm going to use that instead of the whole notes on line number 2. Try to join in with me for a few of the groups of notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Same thing on the next one. Cool. You can substitute any of the rhythms below in after you've worked on the long tones. Use the background only tracks and you can give it a shot. Do-da-do-da, do-dit-dot. Any of those rhythms that are along the bottom of the page, you can substitute in on these Remington exercises after you've done them on the long tones. When you feel ready, click the link at the bottom of the page to move on to the next page. There are tracks with and without trumpet for all of the other lines on the first big warm-up there. When you feel comfortable with them, you are definitely ready to get started in jazz band next fall. Have fun.